Every time I've lost dough, and I've lost plenty, luckily I've had more successes than failures, is when I didn't listen to my gut, which is my experience. You think that you've come here and you've got an MBA and you're going to go out in the world and you're going to rock and you're going to be incredibly successful. I've got news for you. For 2/3 of you, the world is going to chew you up and spit you out.
Oh, Mr. Wonderful, 10 feet high above them all. I'm out.
You know, I've learned a lot from the CEOs I've invested in over the years, and there was a woman a few years ago, it's more, probably 10 years ago now, and she said to me something really interesting. I asked her why she was so successful, because she was. She said, I do something very ordinary and almost boring, but I do it every day. She takes a sticky note and she writes 3 things she has to get done before she texts, answers any calls, or does anything else. Just 3 things. And she sticks it on the mirror where she puts her makeup on. And she really, it doesn't have to be business things. It can be whatever it is that are deemed to be important to get done the next day. Maybe it's something that's a holdover from the day before, because I've been doing this now for years, and it's really effective. This isn't tech. You're not putting it in your phone. It's not a software program. It's a piece of paper with, and you have it, right when you're going to bed, brushing your teeth, whatever, you write those 3 things down, you stick it on the mirror. I do it every night. And then I am myopically focused to get those 3 things done. I don't do anything
before you
else.
text, before you check your email.
Before I do anything else, I nail those 3 things. You cannot believe how productive you get when that happens, because you don't let the distractions of all the other crap that's happening around you. I just don't do it until I get the 3 things done. And it's incredibly powerful. I tell people to try it. Most people who try it get stuck on it and they stick with it. It's really, because in life there's so much noise coming at you, and every year more noise and all kinds of different distractions. And you always say to yourself, well, I can multitask. But you deemed that thing to be very important and you ignored it. Now it's 3 in the afternoon, you're exhausted, or you're busy with other stuff and you say, oh shit, I didn't get that done. And it's whatever the effects, the domino effects are, they're going to hurt you. And that's why I tell people, try it out. It's a really great tool.
Okay, that's number 1. What's the second big habit?
Okay, so this one's a little funky chicken. It comes with a story, okay? When I was, I wanted to be a photographer or a musician, a rock star. When I was, when I got out of high school, and my stepdad said to me, you're not good enough at either of those. You'll starve to death. If I were you, I would go get any kind of a degree and focus on business, which is what I did. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I learned some stuff. And I ended up going into postgraduate. I got an MBA, which was, at that time, was a 2-year program, which, we can talk about the merits of that or not, because I've come to realize what it was worth and what it wasn't worth. But anyways, I remember on the last week, the graduating class, and in those, it's sort of like an amphitheater with about 100 people in it, and you've been there for 2 years, you got your little nameplate in front, and they bring in guest lecturers to talk to you before you jump into the real world. And this guy comes in, and he says, I'll never forget it. He walks up, the professor hands him the floor, and he just goes in the middle and just looks up at everybody. For maybe it felt like forever, but it was really maybe 60 seconds. Didn't say a word. And the whole room, you could have heard a pin drop. I'll never forget it. And then he says, you guys think you're so hot. You think that you've come here and you've got an MBA and you're going to go out in the world and you're going to rock and you're going to be incredibly successful. I've got news for you. For 2/3 of you, the world is going to chew you up and spit you out. You have no idea what's going to happen to you. You are so irrelevant. You have proven nothing. You've done nothing. You think an MBA means something? It's worthless. And I remember the guy beside me, I'd been beside me for 2 years. We were up in the 1 row down from the top so we could chat all the time.
Hide a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And so I said to him, Barry was his name. I said, Barry, this guy is such a, what an he is. What an arrogant he is. Well, guess what? He was right. He was 100% right. And the reason he pointed that out was the idea that your experiences make you who you are over time as an entrepreneur, as a parent, as a person, as whatever you are, as a brand, whatever you are. It's your experiences and how you deal with them that gives you that equity over time. And for many people, they can't make it. It doesn't work out for them. They don't have what it takes to take on the abuse that the world's going to throw at you. And just to give you full circle in a kumbaya, circle of life, Lion King kind of moment, I got caught saying the same thing a couple of months ago at the Harvard MBA group. I realized I was saying the same thing that guy said to me decades ago. I said to these kids, you're all think you're hot, you're Harvard MBAs, you are nothing burgers. You are nothing. And so there you have it. What he really explained was the idea of experience and how you have to listen to your gut to navigate the bombs of your career. And you have to trust it. You have to trust your gut. Every time I've lost dough, every time, and I've lost plenty, luckily I've had more successes than failures, is when I didn't listen to my gut, which is my experience. And I should have, and he was right. He was absolutely right. It was great information, but I couldn't assimilate it because I couldn't put it in context. Now I understand it. So number 2 is you need to build that experience and all the way through listen to your gut. Even when you're young, your gut will tell you. You'll know when it's right and wrong. And don't go against your intuition. That is actually your radar. That's your DNA speaking to you, figuring out what the next move is going to be.
That's a powerful story. Yeah.
Did they say the same thing to you in the back of the room and say, what an asshole this guy is when you gave him the speech at Harvard?
Yeah, it's Matt Higgins, who was a Get
Yeah,
Sharp.
I know
Now
Matt very well, yeah.
Yeah, so Matt, he emailed me the next day and said, hey, Kevin, I got to tell you, you're a shit disturber. I mean, but much of the class really enjoyed it. But what he was really saying is he pissed a few people off.
Yeah.
But, I know Higgins pretty well. We're good friends. And so, he's really savvy at what he does. We wanted to talk about direct-to-consumer branding. And that's what we were doing in that lesson. It was 2 hours. It was great. I'd work with that guy anytime. He's terrific.
Yeah, great guy.
Great content on LinkedIn he has. He's always sharing that content with me there.
Yeah.
And the third habit that makes you very successful.
Well, it's you have to make time in your life for your significant other and your family, and it's very hard to do. It's extremely hard to do because this is really speaking more to the entrepreneurial community out there, which is basically a third of people. 1/3 will attempt to take the entrepreneurial journey. It's not a destination, it's a journey, and the challenges of that are very, very difficult, particularly when you're starting out. And I learned this the hard way. And again, I'm going to go to a story of a class that I taught years ago, an evening class. This really sums it up. It tells you how important this is. 3-hour class, 6 to 9. We're almost closing. How 10 minutes left. This guy hadn't said a word the whole class. And he finally puts up his hand and he says, listen, Mr. Wonderful, I have a question for you. It's not about the case. What's the case we're doing? I need some advice. I said, okay, you really haven't participated at all. I was kind of a little condescending because I know you kind of know who's engaged in the class, even though it was a huge cohort. I think it was something like 300, 400. I can't remember. It was a lot of people. Anyways, he said, I'm graduating this year. I'm an engineer, and I've developed a cloud-based software enterprise system that helps hedge funds with less than $250 million be compliant. And it's very difficult to stay compliant when you're small. You need 2 and 20 hedge funds. And it was a subscription service. So these guys could use it on a cloud basis. And he had written this code while he was graduating in engineering.
Wow.
And his run rate was $5 million a year in subscriptions. I mean, that is like, and I said, I don't hear a problem here. I hear something incredible going on. This is amazing. And he said, well, here's the problem. My fiancée came to me this morning, and I'm really disturbed. She said, I have to make a choice. She can't live with me anymore. I never attend any of her family's picnics. I never see anybody on weekends. I'm either studying or I'm working on the code. That's all I can do. And I asked her to come over and sleep with me when she can, and we'd be together. But I'm just buried in this. And I need to do both. I need to get my graduation in engineering, and I need to keep my customers happy because this is my business. Now, he said, what do I do? Room's like, this is getting interesting, right? I mean, I said, okay, which one is easier to replace? Your business or your fiance? And that was probably not the right thing to say at the time, but that's what I was thinking in my head, and I think everybody else was too. This guy's phenomenally successful, clearly has gotten engaged to the wrong person that can't take that journey with him. Most likely outcome is divorce after they marry, because he's going to work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, because he's got a business, he's an entrepreneur. My point is, one of the biggest decisions you're going to make in your life that between success and failure as a person is finding that right partner. That, I don't care, who that is. If you're going to take that route, they have to be in sync with who you are. You can't contort yourself to something else. And I think that a lot of people in their 20s really should think this through, because now I told you I'm in the wedding industry. I've got a lot of companies, and I've learned a lot about marriages. The reason marriages fail is not because of infidelity. Any marriage can survive that. I talked about it earlier. But why they fail, why the union breaks up 50% of the time within 5 years, is financial stress. One outspends the other. They're not in sync together. They don't share each other's goals. That's the hardest time in your life. In your 20s, maybe you start a family, whatever you're going to do. The point is, picking that partner is the third thing you either do right or you do wrong. Divorce is incredibly stressful. Many people try it 3-4 times. They're not in sync with their partner. I'm just, this is kind of like a little Dr. Phil-ish in some ways, but I'm telling you, with the CEOs I work with and all the investors I work with, I see stress in people when their relationships are falling apart. And it's devastating. So there's a story, those are the three things I care about in giving guidance. And I think everybody knows what I'm talking about and should think about these.
These are powerful stories, and I'm curious, love and money is such an interesting topic because most people disagree on it, or one person's out spending and then they get divorced. One of the main reasons is money. What questions should partners be asking each other before they get married around money? How honest should they be? And what if they have a massive disconnect around money, but they have this intimacy and connection and love? Should they, just break up before the wedding? Or what do you think would be the right move to make?
So I have given a lot of guidance in this space. In fact, I've written 3 books about it called Men, Women, and Money, Men, Women, and Children. It's all kinds of advice about family. But here's how the journey works. You meet somebody. It's a great first date. You have a second date. It's even better. Okay? By the time you're having your third date, the only reason you're having your third date is both of you are very interested in each other. Mm-hmm. And that is the time to start talking about the future. I know that sounds corny.
The third date.
I understand it. Third date, if you're just hooking up for hooking up, I get it. You don't have to worry about this. But if you're actually stopping seeing anybody else and you're on your third date with somebody you've met and they've done the same thing and you're being honest with each other, something's going on, okay? Now it's time to start doing a little due diligence, because this is going to get serious. By the 4th date, and you're not seeing anybody else and you're talking about, doing whatever you're going to do together, it's a big deal. And you have to understand a little bit about where their heads are at. Number 1 is, talk about family. Do you want to have one? I mean, it's a question. Some people don't. You got to know that up front. You make a decision about it. Or can you have one? It's a discussion you got to have. Tough discussion. Again, staying honest. Number 2, what are your goals? How do you see yourself in 10 years? Are you at home? Are you working? Or would you be raising kids? I know this sounds corny, but believe me, women want that question and men want it too. If you're on your 4th date, they're dying to get into this because they're starting to really invest their time in what they think they're going to be. Anybody in your family bankrupt? Tough question.
Ooh.
Tough question. Have you ever been bankrupt? Then you ask, how much debt do you have on your credit card? Tough question.
Ooh.
Do you pay off your credit card every month?
Oh my
And then they say,
gosh.
why are you asking me that? And if they say, why are you asking me this question? You say, why can't you answer that?
Ooh, what makes you feel uncomfortable about this question? Yeah.
Well, what I really worry that the reason, you've got to be in sync with here's the thing about marriage, about getting together, whether you get married or not, or whoever your significant other is. If those are aligned, if you have an understanding of each other that is in sync, that union could last 50 years. Because after the euphoria is over with, you're in business with each other. You have to build a financial pillar to support growing old together, or raising a family, or buying a house, or doing whatever you're going to do. And you need to be in sync on that stuff. And this is but I'll tell you something. Every man and woman I've talked to about this, and when I was researching my books, all three of them, I was amazed at how forthcoming people would be and saying, I'm dying to answer that question. I'm dying to ask that question. If I'm on my fourth date, I really want to know that about my potential partner because I'm really interested in this person. And I think we could be great together, and at least I'd like to try it, but I got to know these things. They're tough questions. And if you like the answers, then you should feel encouraged to keep going. And if you don't like them, you really have to do some soul searching, because high probability, at least 50%, it's not going to work out.
Whew. This is interesting. And what if someone doesn't share the same money mindset values as you do, but you're so in love with them that you have this incredible connection? You just laugh at everything that you guys share. Everything is easy except for that one thing. Do you still think there's a potential you could work on that? Or is it, hey, if they don't have the mindset now, they're never going to have it?
If they don't have the mindset now, they're never going to have it. You know what you got to do? You got to move on.
Wow.
Tough, really tough, because it'll only end in misery. I always say this. People say to me all the time, what a cold, heartless you are, talking about love this way. It's not about money. And I say, oh yeah? It's always about the money. The reason people break up, you'll find out, is always about money. It's always about money. It's not about, at the root of every divorce, I'll show you money. It won't be because they screwed around. It's really some stress that's occurred within the family because of financial. And look, I'm just telling you the truth. I started our conversation saying I was going to do that. And you're going to get all kinds of people listening to this say, what an I'm 100% right. And, I've been around long enough watching this happen to so many people that I want to give them good advice, and I'm giving them good advice. You really have to get this bedrock nailed down. You really do. And particularly if you're into your second year with somebody, and usually what happens is relationships get intense. They then become, they agree that they're going to be just with each other, which is a very encouraging sign. And then they may go on for another year or so before they tie the knot, or maybe they're never going to tie the knot, but the point is they move in together, they start buying assets together. You got to get the financial thing nailed down. If you like that video, wait till you see my next one. Don't forget to click right over here and subscribe.